Welcome to the podcast, Harriet. Thank you so much for joining me to chat about a topic that is very close to my heart. To start, can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, and what you do for fun?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Hannah. I'm excited to be here and to have a chat with you. So I'm Harriet Watson. I grew up in rural Canterbury, and I'm currently on the other side of the world, living in Belgium. So a very big difference. But I just love everything outdoors and kind of have grown up in a multi-sport family. So that's kind of where I started. And now I just love anything endurance sport really and being out and about. So that's kind of it really. That's me. I just love being outside. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously the outdoors has played a huge role in your life. Sounds like from the moment that you landed on this earth.
Yeah.
Being in family. So can you share a bit about what that was like growing up and how because you could have also said like, I don't really like this outdoors sort of thing. Like, take me inside. Yeah. Tell us about how that shaped your childhood and growing up.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a massive part of growing up. So I think Dad did the coast to coast and that sort of thing from when I was very young. So I was always out in the support crew cheering for him. Mum's done spring challenges from the day I can remember. So I've grown up in that environment, but also I'm the youngest child. So we were always, I've got one older brother, we were always out on adventures. That was kind of our family outings, was going tramping or like mountain biking, that sort of thing. And I was always the slowest. I'm the shortest. I've got shortest legs. So I was always found it really hard. And I definitely spent a lot of my younger years having little tantrums, not appreciating it at all. Just didn't want to be there. And then eventually, I'm not quite sure what happened, but sort of switch flicked, I guess, and I realised that the harder I worked, the better I got, the less far behind I would be. And so the harder, I guess it started to become not as hard if I worked a bit harder in between times. So that's what really got it started. And then I realised, I think, that I enjoyed, it's kind of ironic, but I enjoyed being in that hard, kind of tried to fun space where things were hard. And then from there I've just gone to love it. And I was really lucky to do my first coast to coast when I was 16. So Dad and I did the tandem together, which was pretty special. Yeah, and it was at a time too when it was like that was such a big challenge that I didn't even know if I was gonna be able to get there and get to the end. And I think from there, alongside the toughness of it, I really got hooked on the challenge and whether I could even finish it and that feeling. And then that feeling when we did finish it, I guess too.
Yeah, what was that like?
Oh, there was so many tears. It was unreal. Like tears throughout the whole course, tears at the end. It was so hard and I didn't know what to do with myself at the end when we crossed that finish line. But I think it's that sort of thing where it is so hard. And then when you reflect on it later, you're like, I just did that. Like somehow we got to the end of what seemed impossible at the time. And then I think once I got to that point, I was like, I wonder what else I can do.
Yeah.
Which is
dangerous place of like, oh.
Yeah, that's right. And I still have that in me and I go through these ebbs and flows where I'm like, this is so exciting, I wonder what's next. And then sometimes I do scare myself a bit. I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes a bit. We need to just rein it in and make sure that it's not too crazy and that there's still enjoyment and there's still, good reasons for doing these sort of things. Yeah.
It sounds like growing up as the youngest and the smallest, and I know from my experiences not being the youngest, but being the weakest in a team or a group, but for that to be your normal, like set you up really well for embracing the such years of like endurance events ahead.
Absolutely. And I think I didn't appreciate that at all at the time. And now, like my family, we laugh about it and we laugh about how I used to just throw big tantrums. But it really does. And it makes you, have that ability to hunker down and just push really hard when you need to, and yeah, whatever it is, get past excuses in your head or whatever's holding you back, and find your mojo.
Mm-hmm. So after your first coast to coast at 16, is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Where did you go to next? I mean, I watched from afar, achieved some pretty epic things. So I'm curious to know kind of what that journey and path looked like from that finish.
Yeah, so it was actually super hard on my body, which anyone who's done any endurance sport will understand. But as a 16-year-old, my body was probably not super equipped for that level of endurance training, and I struggled a lot with hormones, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point, and my cycle, and it just wasn't really sustainable. So I stepped back a bit and I found out that I loved the kayaking aspect of the coast to coast. So I had the opportunity to start a bit of K1 kayaking with the squad in Christchurch at Arawa. So I paddled with them for a few years, which was really cool. Learned how to stay upright in a boat. That was very different to the beautiful Waimak hanging out on the Avon, but that was pretty cool. But the longest, so we did race 200 metres and 500 metres, which was never really long enough for my endurance arms to warm up. But it was really cool. It taught me a lot about showing up the training when I didn't want to, and just, being there, and it was a great team environment to be part of. And I got to race, like, I trained with Liv, who just won the gold medal at the Olympics, and raced Lisa. So there's some pretty cool bucket list moments. So I did that, and then at the end of 2020, I think, I really was like, I just need a big challenge, something that's mentally going to put me in that zone where I have to work hard. And so I came up with the idea to kayak 100 Ks on the Avon. So I did 10 laps of 10 Ks in my K1, which was, it took me over 12 hours, I think. It was brutal. But it was really cool at the same time. I had so many different people come and paddle different laps with me. And I also raised money for Endometriosis New Zealand for that. So it was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then I had a couple of years where I just floated around and did adventures for adventure's sake, really. And then I got to 2022 at the start of the year, and I just had a few things that were kind of a bit off in life, like sort of had a relationship that had just broken down, and I wasn't feeling overly stimulated in work, and just a few things weren't quite on the money, so I needed something to focus on. And that's when probably the biggest sporting thing that I've ever done has his run for Endo kind of eventuated. So that was a running and cycling 650k adventure over 8 days, really.
Maybe. Yeah, the idea.
Yeah, no, I think my dad's influence on me, bad influence sometimes. We just sort of get a bit carried away, but yeah, it was really cool to do that, and to do it for such a cool reason as well. And then, I've just been kind of running ultras since. That sort of seems to be
what I've done.
Well, it's a little bit harder to train for over here. So I'm just sort of starting to do some shorter stuff, because I definitely miss my multi-sport community from back home, and having people to train with and hills to run on and that sort of thing. So just chilling until the next thing comes up. But I did a 250k ultra last year over 5 days, and that raised money for a mental health charity over in the UK, which was amazing as well. So I think that's what I love doing, the sport adventures for a purpose.
Yeah, that's so special.
Yeah.
And endometriosis is obviously a huge part of your story, and the main topic of our conversation, even though I'd love to talk to you about multisport and endurance for an hour.
Yeah.
And maybe start us off by sharing, or for people who don't know, sharing about what it actually is, and then taking us back to the beginning for you. What was your experience like from your first period, or how did you notice it developing as you grew through your teenage years?
Yeah, so endo is a common but underdiagnosed inflammatory condition amongst women. Around reproductive age, usually it sort of starts to come to a head, and its main symptoms, I guess, are like chronic pain and nausea, fatigue, any of those sorts of things. But I find the easiest way to describe the pain to someone is it feels like someone's got a knife and is just like stabbing it into my stomach and then twisting it. So it's a brutal condition, and it kind of, the pain lines up along the menstrual cycle. So for me, I feel like the more I hear about other people's experiences, the luckier I am in the scale of people with endo. If that's such a thing. But so I was about 14, I think, when I got my first period. And we still didn't talk about it a lot at school. So I knew that other girls were having new periods and they knew I had mine, but like I didn't know what was normal. So I sort of had a lot of pain from the get-go, but I didn't know that it was more pain than other people experienced. I'd sort of see people fronting up for PE and being absolutely fine, and had to think to myself, okay, maybe I just need to toughen up. It's actually not that bad. They seem fine. Maybe I'm fine too. And then around 16, when I was doing the coast to coast, I actually got my period continuously for about 4 months, which is not great. So I was still in the mindset where it was like, okay, everyone goes through this. I just have to be tough. Like, it's just a period. I'm just a girl with a period. It's fine. But obviously, like, I talked to mum and dad, and they sort of knew what was going on, and I went to the doctor and went on the pill just to try and stop the periods and things. And so after I stopped the endurance sport quite so much and went to the kayaking like we spoke about before, I came off the pill and just really tried to settle it down. And eventually it sort of went back into a rhythm, but still I was having this horrific pain every month. And I was having days where I wouldn't go to school, and I think that's the scary part, is when it starts to impact your daily life. It's like you come to the realization that's not normal. And then around, I think, late 2018, early 2019, I was fortunate enough I have a really good relationship with my brother, and he was down at Otago Uni studying med, and I was on FaceTime one day, I think, and I was just probably on the floor in a ball crying or something. And he said to me, like, we've just had this lecture. I think you should have a look at this and have a think about it, because I think you tick a lot of the boxes. And he sent me the Endo NZ website, and I looked at the symptoms and I was like, yep. Oh boy, this is me. So it's kind of, in a way, like, nice to know that there was some reason I wasn't feeling like everyone else looked like they were feeling on the period. So that kind of pointed me in that direction, I guess. And I didn't really know what to do next, because you sort of like, you've got this information, but what do you do with it? So I gave the helpline a call, actually, the Endo New Zealand helpline, and they gave me a good kind of plan to action, which involved like a few pain management tips and things, and then also suggested I get in contact directly with a specialist. And so that's what I did, and within a couple of months I had my first appointment, and then a couple months later a diagnosis. So that all happened really quickly once I'd become aware of the actual condition itself. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about raising the awareness, is because for me that the knowledge was power, like once I knew it was a thing, I could actually do something about it.
Exactly. And that message from your brother, was that the first time you'd, like, no GP that you'd seen or anyone else had been like, oh, you're in a lot of pain, that's not normal, maybe it's one of these conditions, or maybe it should refer you to a specialist straight away? Or was that the first time that you'd been like, oh, this this actually might be a diagnosis of something that's not quite right in my body.
Yeah, we had a talk about it at school when I was maybe like 14 or 15, or it might have even been before I had my period actually. And I was just like, oh, that's so weird. Like, why would we be talking about that? And everyone's the same, like, classic naive, and probably something awkward about the topic, which now is like, we've opened a can of worms by starting to talk about it. But yeah, I hadn't really had that feedback from a doctor. Probably I hadn't talked specifically about it. I think the only time I'd probably really gone to the GP was that time around Coast to Coast when I was just continually having a period. But other than that, I was probably still in that mindset where I thought that I just needed to toughen up, which is pretty scary. Like, now looking back, it's like, why did I not do something sooner? Yeah.
And I resonate very deeply with that. So I'm pretty sure we're not the only ones. And that goes with endo, but just any other condition or symptoms in women's health too. Like, we put up with a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't want to be the ones standing up and making a scene. And the other thing is, like, it's so subjective. Like, what is normal? Who knows? Especially in topics like a period, which haven't necessarily been talked about a lot. And I think it's starting to change, which I think is amazing. But yeah, I do think that without even that knowledge and that awareness, that how can we be expected to know when we need to say something about it or when not to?
Yeah, so to join the dots between that diagnosis from your specialist and today, what's been your journey in that time period?
Yeah, so 2019 I had my first surgery. I think it was around May, and that was, diagnosis came through. It was definitely endo, and they cleared it out, which was good. And then to sort of chucked along okay from there. I still get like 2 weeks of pain per month. So like usually the week before my period is like brutal. And then the week of it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's kind of annoying, but it's fine. And so I was sort of having that, and then gradually it started getting worse and worse again. And so about 18 months after my first operation, I went back to the specialist and said, what can we do? Because something's not quite right again. And he said, we'll go in and have a look and see what's happening. And so I had another surgery pretty much bang on 2 years after that initial one. And then touch wood, since then it's been okay, which I hope stays that way because it's a little bit harder to deal with on the other side of the world. So I think I've been really lucky with how quickly everything went for me. And I just really want to help raise the awareness so that hopefully it starts to be a bit quicker for other women as well.
Definitely. Me too.
Yeah. And reading stories like yours, it breaks my heart that women get so long. It's so long for people to get help because it impacts such a big part of your life,
Yeah. So maybe can you tell us a bit about how that's been for you? Like, obviously there's a huge physical impact, being in pain, extreme pain for, a significant amount of time. It's not just a couple of hours or a day. And I mean, just circling back to that as well, surgery isn't necessarily a fix. So I mean, that's probably a whole nother line of conversation. But yeah, obviously it's a huge impact physically, but how does it impact you emotionally and mentally, and just the way that you live your life and the way you see yourself?
Yeah, I think initially it was super hard because you're given this, like, in a way the diagnosis was a relief because it sort of put a name to the symptoms and everything that I'd experienced for so long and thought that I was just fine, but it put a name to that, which was great. But at the same time, you're then confronted with this chronic illness that you've got for the rest of your life, and that in itself is super daunting. And it's sort of like, okay, well, what next? So I think for me, I kind of carried on as normal as in like what I'd just been doing, and sort of things helped a little bit with the surgery. But it was more about, okay, well, I deal with this pain every month and I'm just going to have to keep dealing with it, and finding like ways to cope, which is, when you put it like that, it's pretty brutal. But for me, I've worked out that I'm probably never going to feel worse if I get up and move. So I try not to have days where I don't get out of bed. I definitely still do. I'm not going to even try and deny that. But I really do try and just get up and do one thing that's going to make me feel better about myself for the day. Go for a little walk, just move to the couch, whatever it is that just makes me feel like I've achieved something. But then I also try and use it as a bit of like a pain benchmark, I guess. Like every month we go through something so brutal that I don't think many people understand, and that our pain cave is just so deep from that. So kind of probably a little bit toxic, but I try and leverage that with sport and see how much I benefit from that and how far I can push myself into that, knowing that that is actually probably never going to be as bad as what the endo pain is. And that is like, yeah, so I think that's my way of coping with it, is understanding how I can use that and lean into it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I love that. Anyone who's been in a pain cave, that really put the endo pain experience into perspective.
Yeah, doesn't it? I remember I was out on a run with Dad one day, and he had a bit of I think I had the ITB niggle, and he said, oh yeah, like feels like glass shards in your knee or whatever, it's pretty bad. And I was like, oh yeah, it's totally bad, but it's like got nothing on endo. And his jaw just dropped. I was like, I'm serious, like it's fixed. You think that's bad? Try this. But without discrediting how bad ITB is.
Yeah. I occasionally see those real come up on Instagram where there's couples, obviously one of them had severe period pain for whatever reason, and then the other is on those wee electrode machines.
Yeah.
And they took the pain and like, oh, this is just the cramps about to start to come on, and this is a normal day and this is really bad, and he's squirming his
yeah, and to think we just have to kick on as normal and just pretend like we're all fine. It's just mind-boggling, isn't it?
And I think it's hard for anyone, but when you're someone who really thrives on being outside and really trying to live everyone is trying to live a full life, and it's really impacting, like taking it away from the ability. There's to a certain extent, and because I did this for a long, long time too, like you can mentally push through to a point, and then I just got too old and tired of everything. Yeah, where else was I going with that? Yeah, I think it's just the relentlessness of it. Every month, you know that this is happening. There's kind of this mental preparation for me, anxiety around commitments that I have, that it's really going to suck the enjoyment out of doing those things. And then there's the stress on your body, physiologically, the load that your body's going through, as well as the menstruation, and then physically and mentally picking yourself up to try and enjoy the early phase and kind of ovulation stage of your next cycle before it kind of all circles in again. And I think it's that relentlessness, always trying to pick yourself back up and trying to make the most of what you've got have been the hardest for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like I think part of me hears that and it's like, I'm actually so lucky because I don't feel like mine is like as consuming as that. Like I definitely it just like it breaks my heart a little bit hearing, like the anxiousness and things around like ahead of it. And because I think I get that, but only if I have like definitely important events or things I want to go to, or like runs I want to do, and I sort of have that in the back of my head. But I think probably the surgeries have really improved that for me. But yeah, I just think sometimes what people what you have to go through, I think that is just brutal, and I don't even know where to start with that. Like, that's tough. That is tough, like, and I think if you can get through that, there's no stopping.
Yeah. And I had my surgery last month, so I'm pretty hopeful. I'm very hopeful that I change things a lot.
Really hope so. Yeah, I hope that it'll just knock it up and you can get back into doing the things you love to do. Yeah. And I think there's definitely days like there's days. Yesterday I went for a bike ride in the morning, and I was supposed to hit a couple of different zones, and I was like, I just don't have the mental or physical energy at all to get the session done. And so I came back and sat on the couch for the rest of the afternoon eating chips because that was in the day, that was what I needed. And it's sort of, I think the coping mechanisms that we develop and the ability to push ourselves or listen to our bodies or whatever we need that's the amazing part. Yeah.
It's very grounding hearing that. Coming back to sit on the couch and eat chips makes you're a human girl.
I'm definitely human. You are. There's plenty of that. I think it's super hard for me too as well. Like at home, it's super hard for me in this situation to cope because at home I have so many people around me, and like mum and dad, I go home and I'll sit on the couch and cry to them and they'll look after me, or like I've got my brother there, or just things that are familiar and I can do at home. But here I find it like quite isolating having that pain because I don't have the connection with people to talk about it, and I don't feel like that many people know what I'm going through, whereas at home I feel like a lot of people get it, people who I've talked to who have it or just who know me well. So I feel like my coping mechanisms here are a little bit tough. So I'm a sucker for the couch and some chips.
Love that.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
You kind of alluded to it a little bit already, but I've heard you speak about before turning endo into your strength, which in mindset terms is a really powerful shift, but on a monthly or daily level, doesn't that get exhausting or tiring? Like how do you balance that? And kind of what I was speaking about before as well, how do you balance that moving forward while also taking care of yourself and giving your body the nurturing care that it needs?
Yeah, I think ahead of my period is the easiest time to get into that mindset, but it definitely does get exhausting sometimes, and sometimes it is completely out the window, and I just can't get into that, and I want to sit and cry and have a big wobble, and that's what I do. But I try to set myself up because I think you just spoke about it before, like we know it's coming, and so like I try and go, well, like every month up to this point I've made it through, and every month up to this point it's sucked, but that pain ultimately has been temporary, albeit for like 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever it was. Somehow like I've got through it, and it's like I've always come out the other side and I'm always fine eventually. So kind of just leaning into that, and I think I don't know what come first, but the endurance sport is a lot like that too, because I think when you're really digging deep and you're in a hard session, or you've got a hill run that you're doing or whatever it is, and you're sucking in the air, it's like you take your mind off it and you put yourself somewhere else, or you focus on something that's not hurting as much, or like recognize that the pain is temporary and you'll stop eventually. And I think that's what that sort of seeing it as my strength is doing that. And and then I think vice versa, I flip that strength narrative back into daily life and go, if I get through this on a monthly basis, then what else can I do? What other pain can I voluntarily put myself in to see what we can achieve? And it's actually that mindset set me up a lot for an adjustment to a totally different lifestyle over here. And there's been some brutally hard parts of that, which is not physical challenge at all. And and knowing stuff like I can endure pain for 2 weeks a month and then do it all again in another 2 weeks is like is reassuring to know. I don't know if that makes much sense. I feel like I'm just completely word vomiting.
No, it's that I think what I'm hearing is like the powerful mindset stuff around it is accepting that this is the reality, and then how can I best support myself through that? Because I know for me, and I've heard from other people, other women too, that it's so easy to get stuck in that almost like victim type mindset where like, why is this happening to me? How come I'm not getting support? Why didn't anyone tell me about this sooner? Why can't I just live my life? There's so much I want to do. And I've definitely been stuck in that sometimes. But it sounds like you've got a really good handle. You're really across that and being like, okay, this is with me for life, and how am I going to live knowing that that is my reality?
Yeah. I think, don't get me wrong, there's still days where I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is not fair. I hate this. This is why me. But I do try and look at it like, I think I'm a glass half full type of person anyway, but I try and lean into that. And I also try and think like, there's so many things in the world. If endo's what I've got, then fine. Like, there's so many other people, and I don't want to get into the situation where I'm comparing my life to anyone else's, or what I've got is different or whatever. But there's, in my head, there's so many things worse than endo, and I can still function most of the time okay, and I'm just gonna make the most of that time that I can function. But I definitely I say that, and I do it. I live that a lot, but I also live in days where I'm like just not moving from bed and got a hot water bottle and I'm just gonna cry, and I try not to do it too much anymore, but I often call mum crying, but I know it makes her worry when I'm a world away, but yeah, that definitely happens too. So it's definitely best intentions, and I try and practice it as much as I can to sort of keep that mindset, keep positive, and remind myself that it's okay, but it's not always easy.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful perspective.
Quite morbid at times though, isn't it?
But, you know, because some people come at it with like, there's always going to be people worse off than me. This is not that bad. But the way that you're holding it is just more of a looking at the bigger picture of us as humans on the planet, I suppose. And if this is the nasty thing that we're dealing with, then and we can deal with it. It's not that bad, but not in an unhelp.
Yeah. And it's so valid what we're feeling, and it's so important to acknowledge that and to accept that and to work with it. But it's about how we choose to see it, I think. And yeah, I was going to say something then, but I lost my train of thought a little bit. That's okay. It might come back to me.
Yeah, it might come back in a minute. You've mentioned it a little bit, just being on the other side of the world, living away from your normal people in your community. But can you take us through living with something that's invisible throughout your journey? Because, you know, it comes with its own set of challenges, you know, like if you've sprained your ankle or a broken leg or something, that's really obvious.
Yeah.
But with endo, and even because I've caught myself in this too, is like, well, I can't see it. Is this pain just all in my head? But then I'm like, I know what pain is because I've really injured myself before. And I've been in the pain cave. So like,
Yeah.
like, no, so it's just, I'm self-reporting this level of extreme pain.
Yeah. I definitely battled with that at school. Like, I don't know, PE classes, sports teams. Girls were fine, and I was like, I am so not fine, but I should be fine because everyone else is fine. But I think, yeah, it's been interesting shifting over here because at home, my community knew that I've got endo, right? Like I've done a couple of fundraising things. Everyone at work knew. Like my work was actually a sponsor of the 650k one. My boss, he knows about it. I'd just be like, hey, I can't come to work today. He knows why. Like it was, I didn't really value how open and accepting everyone was of it at home until I got here. And although it's the same company, it's a different team. So I've got to work with my colleagues here and help them understand it, which with a language barrier is quite difficult. I texted one of the colleagues a while back and said, I'm not coming to work today. I've got to stay in bed. I've got endo. And he replied back saying, oh yeah, I think a few of the colleagues have got that today. So, oh, okay. I have a great plan. He said, do not quite with you. And then I turned up at work a couple of days later and they were like, oh, you were sick. And I was like, yeah, but you're not, like, it's hard to explain it. So I think that is a challenge. And half the time I'll just send the information, like a website, to people. But I think it's that other thing too, like, I sometimes doubt how people think about it. So maybe they look at me and say, oh, it actually is all in her head, or, you know, they've got that mindset. And then I start to think, but what if they don't think this is real? And then I get a bit like, oh, well, I really need to front up because, like, I have to go to work no matter what because I don't want them to think that I'm just flaking. So I think that is really hard because I get caught quite easily in that cycle of not wanting to let people down or kind of a bit worried, I guess, what people will think of me because I've got it where I don't have that support network like I do at home. And I think that can be really tough and isolating at times too, I think, because it's like I really need that space where I can actually just cope by myself. But I also feel like I need to turn up for other people. Yeah.
Like finding that balance can be really hard.
And it's something that I've not had to navigate before I got here. And I also, just the comforts of home. I'd just go back to mum and dad's if I was having a really bad day and just cry on the couch and they'd look after me. Can't do that here. Got to put my big girl pants on. It's tough.
Yeah. It sounds like community, and you've probably got a pretty unique community in the sense that because you've done these big expedition type things and you raise a lot of awareness and you've been in the media and you speak really openly about it, is not everyone would be comfortable having their boss know the ins and outs of their menstrual cycle.
They're typically getting used to.
But like, look at that transparency and I'm imagining it's taken away the element of shame or trying to make up reasons why you can't come into work. So that community aspect sounds like it's been so strong for you. And just thinking, I'm reflecting on my own experience as well. I didn't have a massive community like that, but there are some really key people that without them, I don't know what I would have fallen to pieces probably. So just love to hear a bit more about how having your people in your community is and continues to support you even though you're on the other side of the world.
Yeah, I definitely feel that without a few key people, I would be a mess. So I'm I love hearing that you've got those people as well. And I think sometimes by opening these conversations, hopefully, like either we open the door for people to have people or people feel like they've got us as well. I think a big part of me starting to open up actually started around the time that I was sprint kayaking because a lot of the young girls that were in the squad had sort of challenges with their cycles but didn't really know how to talk to the male coaches about it. You know, I was one of the older girls and it was the door that I needed, I guess, to like bridge that gap between the girls and the coaches, and the male coaches were amazing. about it. Like they just took it completely on board. I would openly talk to them about it, which probably was a little bit daunting for me at the time, but it sort of set me up now as well. Now I just go on about it to anyone. But so there is that. That was the start of like where I realized I think the power of community and people being open about talking about it. And then for me, the relationship I have with my parents and my brother, they are literally the glue that hold me together when I'm having a bad patch or when I just can't cope, or when I was going through the diagnosis as well. It was really useful having George, who understood it. So it's George, my brother, sorry, who understood it a bit more medically, and he could kind of explain it to me and to mum and dad and just like what we were going through. And that sort of helped everyone to understand it a bit more. And I think that's the key thing, is when you understand what's going on, you sort of like it's okay to work through. And that's, I think those people really held me together. And now I just want to help other people understand so that then they feel like what they're going through is valid as well, and that they've got support and they know how to access the support as well.
Mm.
But without those three, I'm so lucky with them. And I think too they understand like the sport and where my mindset is around that, and I've really, I guess, cultivated that product of your environment. But so they get that pain cave, and they get how tough I think I like to pretend I am sometimes, and then they see this really vulnerable part of me where I just can't cope with life sometimes, and they look after me. So it's a really nice balance. But I like to think if they'd need me, I'd be there for them too.
Just not on certain days a month.
Yes, just don't talk to me then, but other than that, I'll be fine. But they know me well enough to know now, like, I'll do something, say something, even on FaceTime now with mum, and a couple of days later, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm on my period. And she's like, yeah, no, I could have told you 2 days ago. Sorry. Get a bit grumpy. Yeah.
That's so precious, having those relationships, having those people that just get it as much as they can and willing to support you.
I do think it's so hard though, because they watch me go through it every month as well, and I think that takes a big toll on them, seeing me in pain but not knowing how to help. And I think they're better at it now and knowing what I need and how they can support me. But initially, I think for them it was hard just seeing me go through the pain and not being able to take it away. Mm-hmm. So I think I've probably got better at what I say and how I say it to them, and how I show what I'm going through. But they've probably also got a bit more used to it and a bit more equipped to help. But it's pretty tough.
Yeah, and that makes me think of, maybe there's 2 parts to it, but I think one part being, if someone listening knows someone with endo, or lives with someone, or is pretty close to someone with endo, what are meaningful ways that they can show up and support that person? What have you found in cultivating that relationship with your people?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one, because I think the more I've opened up to people, the more people who have come to me with stuff, like with their, like how they're feeling, what they're experiencing. And then I think initially it used to be quite confronting for me, and I didn't really know how to react to people, because I want to like listen and take on and be there for people, but I don't ever want people to feel like I'm comparing myself, or like I don't want them to think like, oh yeah, I know, I go through that too, like we're fine, because it's so not like that, and everyone experiences it so differently. And I think like sometimes I'm fine and sometimes I'm not, and probably like very few people see me when I'm not fine, because you don't want to be seen when you're not fine, right? You want to be in bed where no one can knows what's going on. But like I've got a really close friend of mine who's got horrific symptoms, and I just try and listen. And I think sometimes all she needs to do is to get it off her chest to someone she knows understands. Mm-hmm. And And then she's like, okay, like, you know, can't do much about it physically, but lightens the load, or like, what is it? A problem halved is a problem, no, a problem shared is a problem halved. I think sometimes it's a bit like that. And I honestly think the best way I can support someone with endo would be to listen and to know that, like, to be there for them and hopefully show them that what they're going through is totally valid, and it's never like, it's never nice. We don't need to downplay it either. We don't have to tough it out. It's okay to not be okay. And I just really hope that we're opening up that space, that people feel like they can just really acknowledge what they're going through and sit in it, but not flailing it by themselves, you know? Like, it's okay.
Absolutely, yeah. And for me, the women's health practitioner that I work with, her listen to me, like her first consult session is 90 minutes. So even just that in itself, being able to describe the timeline, and it's not just the period, it's all health. Even just being able to go through that experience, and I felt so encouraged to share all of those things, because in her brain, it does all fit together somehow. And I think that's really powerful about the work that she does. Like, yes, working with her has drastically improved my health and my energy and endo symptoms, but just on that emotional, mental level, having someone to listen and to really validate the experience and that it is real, and to not be like, oh, just go on the pill or just try and get pregnant, which is two of the currently main solutions. Easing endo symptom. Yeah, just that being listened to is, and that goes for anything in life, really. Any challenge or adversity, is just that being listened to with a compassion and not judgmental space is so valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And that links back, I think, nicely to the part where you spoke about the invisibility of it. Like, sometimes it's so easy to get stuck in your own head and to, like, just to let it out and someone to go, yeah, you are feeling that and that's okay, is just like, that's huge. And I think that's probably where I'd had my family from the get-go. As soon as I opened up and as soon as George kind of flagged that this endo was a thing, like, I've had that space to be open about it. And so I think, yeah, people like your women's health practitioner sounds amazing, and that's really what we need more of, and what, women in our situation need more of as well. Yeah.
So if it is someone that out there listening and they're like, I experience severe pain, and there's a lot of things in this conversation that they've been resonating with, what would you suggest? I mean, for you, it was calling was it the Endo NZ helpline that you reached out to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that still where you would suggest people get in touch, or are there other steps that you would suggest taking?
Yeah, I would definitely suggest starting there. I think for me, they just have a massive list of doctors, GPs, and then specialists as well, who specifically work with women with endo. And I think that's already a great start, because it's so important that everyone, or the person you're talking to, knows about it as well. If it's something that you think you've got. And yeah, there's a lot of resources on that website as well. That's definitely the first point of call, I think. Just arm yourself with the knowledge that you can, and then speak to someone who can help. And those volunteers are amazing as well. They have sort of pain management tips as well, if that's what you need in the interim. So I think that's definitely a good place to start. But I would like to say that there was an easy answer, but I don't think there is.
It's an amazing resource, and I wish that I had known about that earlier too.
Yeah.
I mean, not to make it about me, but for someone else who might be having challenges with, with their medical centre or with a GP or whoever they're health professional is if they are just getting blank looks or not getting the support that you're needing or hoping for, then going to the Endo NZ line and website where, as you say, they have the resource with all these doctors and specialists and medical professionals who they've obviously screened or, know they know that they know what endo is and specialize in that aspect of women's health.
Yeah.
Such a valuable read.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, that's made it such a big thing for me to support them back when I did those fundraising missions, was just how much difference they made for me. And so, yes, I'd advocate for them every day of the week. And I think the work that they do is phenomenal. So it seems like they're gaining some really good traction as well, some good media and things, especially for Endo Awareness Month, which is really great to see because, I just think the more people that know about it, the better.
So I feel like we could carry on nattering for a few more hours. Very much depth to your story, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, but still so much precious information in here. But I want to be mindful of your time, and it's evening time for you. So I really appreciate everything that you shared with us today. But before we wrap up, where can people find you if they want to connect or send you a message or follow your next adventures?
Yeah, whatever I seem to come up with next. So Instagram's probably the best place at the moment. I think it's Haz's Adventures now on Instagram. It's the best place. Used to be Haz's Run for Endo, but had to change that. So Haz's Adventures. I'm just cruising around there, just posting what I'm up to. But I'd love to hear, and I also love to be there for people. I know how important it is for it to have an ear to listen, so I'm always here for people as well. And I just think, it's brutal, but it's okay.
And what is lighting you up at the moment? What are you excited about?
I think I'm just really leaning into life in Europe. I think never going to be easier to have all these countries on my back doorstep, and I'm extremely fortunate to be over here for a couple of years. So trying to take the pressure off and not sign up for too many ultras. Got one in June, and I think that's the one for the year. Maybe we'll see, but just trying to enjoy life, take the pressure off a bit, and soak it all up. But we'll see how that goes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing everything about you and your story that you shared with us today, and for the awareness that you through your massive achievement, and that you continue to raise as well. And I just hope that anyone who's been listening will feel just so seen and validated, but also so inspired by your story and the fact that you've found a way to not just get through it and endure it, but really turn it into a strength and have that really powerful mindset around living with endo. It's incredible and so inspiring.
Well, thank you so much for opening this space. I think that's the biggest part of it, is raising awareness, and it's conversations like these that really open the door for people. So I think thank you for what you're doing and for sharing your story, because that is just making the biggest difference. And I always think if I can help just one person, then that's job well done. But I think you're opening the door to a lot more people than that. So thank you.
Thanks so much. It's been a privilege. Thanks, Harriet.